I'm Rachel Campbell. I'm the Youth and Worship Pastor at Southside Church of the Nazarene. Today is Wednesday. Let's take a look at Isaiah chapter 58. We're going to be looking at verses 3 through 9, the first half of verse 9, and it has some really fascinating words on fasting. This is actually my favorite chapter in Isaiah. I studied it a lot when I was a teenager because I was really interested in fasting and wanted to take a look at what that meant as a spiritual discipline in my life. I was hypoglycemic. I was just coming into my new metabolism and my growing young adult metabolism and struggling with fasting, and so I wanted to know what the Bible said about it. And I had heard that Isaiah 58 had all of these promises, and we actually see some of them in the later verses of our passage. So in verses 8 and 9a, let's skip down to those. It says, your salvation will come like the dawn, your wounds will quickly heal, your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind. Then when you call, the Lord will answer. Yes, I am here, he will quickly reply. Sounds like some really great things that happen if you fast. And teenage Rachel was really, really excited about the idea of God being on my side if I could just go without food for a little bit of time. But if we go back and we read those in the context of what else is happening in Isaiah chapter 58, we find that the rest of the story isn't so simple. In fact, if we go back to verse 3, we see that the people of Israel were fasting and finding that they weren't getting any results before God. They say, we have fasted before you and you aren't impressed. We have been very hard on ourselves and you don't even notice. And the Lord responds, it's because you are fasting to please yourselves. Even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. What good is fasting when you keep on fighting and quarreling? This kind of fasting will never get you anywhere with me. And the rest of the passage goes on to discuss how the ritual of fasting, this sort of religiosity, is not what impresses God. Now, obviously, there are things that we do as worshipers. There are ceremonies that we undergo that are sacred and powerful and good. And we in the church believe in sacred denial, whether it is giving up food for a time or giving up social media for a time, giving up things that are precious to us, not because they are bad, but because we understand that denying ourselves temporarily helps us to get close to God. But in this passage, God reminds Israel that it is not the act of beating ourselves up that impresses God or scores points with him. What gets us close to the heart of God, what helps us to recognize who God is drawing close to him by loving the things that he loves and desiring the things that he desires, and what he desires is justice and equity for his people. He calls the people of Israel to free those who are wrongly imprisoned, to lighten the burden of those who work for you, to remove the chains that bind people, to share food with the hungry and give shelter to the homeless, to give clothes to those who need them, and to not hide from relatives who need help. Man, how hard would that be, to not hide from relatives, from that needy relative who we sometimes want to ghost. And it says, then, when you do those things, your salvation will come like the dawn, and your wounds will quickly heal. I can tell you that reading this whole chapter was an eye-opener for teenage Rachel. Discovering that it wasn't the act of going without food that was going to change my life. It was learning to love what God loved and try to be seeking after the things that Jesus sought after. What are you seeking after today? Look today for the things that Jesus is seeking after. I'm sure you'll find that it's a crazy eye-opener in your life as well. Have a great day.